The goal of this guide is to give you, the aspiring Chun-Li player, consistent Oki options off her most common knockdowns and combo routes mid-screen. Now, for a good Oki setup, we want to achieve the following. Want to beat wake-up throws, beat wake-up mashing, beat wake-up jumps, beat wake-up drive impact, and we want to make sure that it works if they recover backwards or in place. Oki setups are usually constructed out of two parts, the frame kill and the meaty. The frame kill is a move that we do in order to adjust our timing so that the next action hits meaty. This is usually a whiffed button, a dash, or a jump. Some setups don't have a frame kill. Meaty traditionally means that it hits on the first possible active frame. Now in some cases, these setups will hit on the first possible actionable frame, meaning that it will hit on frame 2 to 3 before the opponent can take an action besides wake up reversal or wake up parry, which is actually pretty decent in Street Fighter 6 because it avoids being perfect parried on wake up. As a final note, there are way more Oki options than the ones that I'm showing here. This is meant to be a jumping off point covering the most useful, stable options Chun has. For a more comprehensive list, please take a look at my Chun-Li notes listed in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's get started. Now, regardless of how you combo into medium spinning bird kick, this is one of the most common combo enders for Chun-Li, inclusive of both her drive rush cancel B&Bs and from any cross-up, including 3HK. It also gives some of her best Oki, with medium spinning bird kick providing her access to high-low strike-throw mix that will keep your opponent on their toes. While we're kicking things off with a manually timed dash micro walk Oki setup, manually timed, this is a core component of Chun's gameplay, and it's critical to mastering the rhythm of the character. Don't worry, getting the timing down for this is both straightforward and consistent with enough practice. Drive rush into overhead is simple, straightforward, and is what will eventually cause your opponent to stand up, allowing for your low Oki option to start connecting when it's needed most. Regardless of the nuances here, having consistent overhead Oki is part of what makes Chun strong, and something you should abuse until your opponent adapts, at which point we move on to our next Oki. Here is your auto-timed low option from spinning bird kick. On block, you can go into a tick throw or go into a jab and confirm the hit. While the damage from the low isn't super impressive, having high-low throw mix off the same knockdown is part of why Chun will frustrate opponents and keep them guessing, especially if they're not familiar with the criteria for entering each mix-up. Sometimes you're just gonna land heavy lightning kicks, even though it is more damaging to go into other enders. So it's worth knowing that if you land one mid-screen, you can still get strong Oki and corner carry by dashing forward twice and pressing 4 HP. It's nothing impressive looking, but it's consistent, gets the job done, and is very plus on block while costing no meter whatsoever. Dashing into 4 HP is going to come up a few more times in this video, so it's something worth getting comfortable with. Since it's always important to know when you have overhead options, it's worth knowing you can get this from heavy lightning kicks as well. It's just like medium spinning bird kick, except you have to throw in a dash first in order to eat up the whopping 50 frame knockdown you get from the heavy lightning kicks. And of course, we're going to round it out with a low option. The fact that Chun has setups, albeit this one's pretty difficult to do frame perfect and will take some practice, the fact that she has these setups that let her go into high-low, strike-throw, Oki mid-screen is part of what makes her so frustrating to fight against. The damage isn't huge, but the amount of mental damage done is fantastic. I can't emphasize enough how often players will block Chun high on wake-up, allowing her to sneak in 2LK. And if they block or parry it, you can just tick throw. When you're not ending in super, you will still be routing into this combo a lot, as it's Chun's highest damaging meterless ender anytime it's available for her to go into it. If you do get a launch mid-screen and opt not to spend for super, then this is your go-to mid-screen Oki. Remember I said that dashing into 4 HP would be back? In general, a lot of players uncomfortable with the Chun matchup will either freeze up or mash like crazy after an air combo because it can be pretty disorienting if you don't know how it works. A surprising number of players get hit by this because it seems like Chun shouldn't be able to keep her pressure going after such a long combo, but she can. Alright, next up we've got OD lightning kicks. If you're a person who likes to route into this, the core thing for you to know is that your only true Oki options mid-screen is either forward dash 2 HP or drive rush overhead. All other options will either whiff or fail to reach. Generally mid-screen, you do want to end in light or medium lightning kicks from standard buttons so that you can get a +3 standing reset on opponents. But if you do spend the meter, these are your options. Next up is Backthrow. So the most consistent from Backthrow is this drive rush into jab. Still incredibly useful for Chun, and still important to know that off Backthrow you do get a consistent lockdown option despite how short amount of a time they are on the ground. Next up, we've got Chun's sweep. The important thing to remember with sweep is that you have the exact same knockdown frames as you do from light and heavy spinning bird kick. So essentially all of your options are the same as medium spinning bird kick Oki, except that you have one less frame to work with. I've just shown a couple of the options that we have here that you should remember from earlier in the video. For punish counter sweep, it's a little bit different. We have far more frames to work with, and so we're going to frame kill with 2 dashes and go back to our tried and true meaty 4 HP. Finally, we're going to cover a few of the areas where it is better to throw a fireball than it is to try and go for Oki. If you land a forward throw mid-screen, you end up with the setup where you're able to throw a light Kikouken and then look to see how the opponent jumps. If they jump towards you, you can Tensho, and if they neutral jump, you can drive rush and follow up with an anti-air combo. This is incredibly useful for making sure that players are locked down in place after you get a forward throw. Just do be aware that if they don't back tech and wake up reversal, it will lose that option. But, you know, like all Oki setups here, all of these are going to lose to wake up reversal, so it's just something to be aware of and decide if that's in your opponent's mindset when you're throwing this out. Next up, in the scenario where you are going to use a reversal yourself, you end up with this very far knockback that is incredibly difficult to follow up with any option. So from here, what you want to do is throw Kikouken and do the same type of look for the reaction from the player that we did with forward throw, except here you have even more wiggle room to work with. The important thing to note is that here you're not going to use Tensho kicks to anti-air, but 5HK is at the perfect range to stuff any kind of jump in. So keep an eye out for it, get used to this, it's definitely something worth drilling and incorporating into your gameplay. Alright, well for now that's going to be it. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope this was a useful reference for you in your journey on learning Chun-Li. I never expected at the beginning of launch that I would be playing this character. I always felt like she was too difficult, too technical to pick up and play, but I've honestly just kept going back to her over and over the last several months, and now she's one of my favorite characters in the game. So hope this was useful to you, and if it was, do leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.